probably stop the video because it is not clear. All right, everybody. Let me just speak very briefly as to who I am. My name is Rosemary James. I have been with the Ministry of Health and Wellness for the past 21 years. I have worked in health education and promotion, and I've also worked at the regional level as Regional Treatment, Care and Support Officer. But what some persons would not know is that I am also the employee trustee for the Regional Health Authority's pension scheme. And that is why I have come this evening to converse with you a little bit about this very important matter of pension. But I have also entitled it More Money for You and Your Honey. Because when we're talking about pensions, we are actually talking about money. And any day we can be talking about money is a good day. Let me tell you why. Right now, we are also very concerned about the COVID situation. And so sometimes we have to distract ourselves and not just think about what is at present, but to think about what is in the future. So here is my question to you. Who wants more money? I don't see chat here, so yes, I hear
I definitely do.
Okay, more money, more money. But who want enough money? Two different questions, you know, more money, but you can have more money, but it's not enough. But now I'm asking you, who wants enough money?
Miss James, I want to also inform persons tuning in this evening that at the end of your presentation, we'll be giving away 200 phone credit. So we'd like everyone to be in tune and wait for your questions at the end of your presentation.
All right. Let me answer. I want enough money. Not just more, but plenty
more. All right, good. So I actually knew your thoughts. I could hear those thoughts saying, me want enough money, and me want enough money. No. The thing is though, colleagues, if you find a way to make enough money now, tell me, because me want some money now myself. While I can't tell about how to make enough money now, I can talk to you about securing your future and having more money later. And that is where I am going to be concentrating on this evening. They say later will be greater. That's what my granny used to say. And therefore, me then roll with that. So enough money for you and your honey. Now, it is important that me say for you and your honey, because there is a beautiful lady that is going to be shoring up the presentation in the person of Candice Nelson. And she is going to tell us that is not a lot of people have a pension plan in Jamaica, you know. So I want to tell you that whatever pension money you will have later on, you probably have to go share it with you and your honey, because your honey may not have no money when pension time come. So it means you're probably going to have to strong up what you have that it can manage. All right, so another thing, I had anticipated that there would have been a lot of particularly younger persons on the call, because what we have recognized over the years is that young people tend not to pay a lot of attention to pension. One of the primary reasons is that the whole matter of pension is for old people. Pension is too far away from the present realities. And therefore, when we reach that bridge, we cross it, right? That is what a lot of young people say. When we reach the bridge, we cross it. But let me say something to you now. Just listen to this for a second right here. So.
Not hearing anything, Miss James.
Hold on. So you mean so me playing my nice little something and nobody not hearing anything about nobody can cross it? Nobody heard it?
No, not hearing.
Oh my word. Well, guess what happened now? The technology has failed me because I was trying to insert. You remember some time ago when there was a flood in Jamaica and there was this gentleman who come up and was interviewed by TVJ, which said that nobody can cross it. It's only fisherman and fisherwoman can cross it. And if you don't know how to, whatever you're gone out to sea, well, let me tell you something. It is the same matter with regards to pensions. If you do not know how to navigate the waters, you see, if you can't cross it, it's gonna be crosses for you later on. So this is why this whole matter of pension is such an important and relevant topic for us to focus on. All right. From my perspective as the employee trustee for pensions, let me tell you what has been my experience. But before I speak about that, let me acknowledge that there are persons who are on different pension plans. If you have been with the Ministry of Health for quite some time now, and I'm speaking prior to the year 2000, you may very well be on the central government pension system. But the majority of us who would have been employed and appointed since that time would be on the regional health authorities pension scheme. And Candice, who is from NCBIA, is going to be speaking more pointedly about that, right? So then you have another group of individuals. So some on central government pension plan, some on regional health authorities pension plan, and some on no plan. My question is, what category do you fall in? There is actually another category, and that category would be persons who have a private pension plan. And what I want to say to you, of the four categories that I have just mentioned, you make sure say you're in one of them, but not the one that's a no plan. Because as Candice is going to point out to us later on, if you don't start now, you're going in a trouble later on. All right. So based on what I do as a trustee, I am involved with the persons who are on the regional health authorities pension plan, right? Which I'm suspecting that most of us who are on a plan would fall in. Let me tell you what has been my experience now. I start getting calls from persons who are employed to Western Region when they're near to go on retirement. I don't get the call before, you know. I don't get the call asking what can I do to improve my pension plan so that when retirement comes, I can be in a better position. I get the call when the person near to pension, near to retirement, and a calculation is done and probably they want more money than what they are seeing that they are going to get. Another thing is I have seen where persons, for whatever reason, they exit the region, gone to a better job, greener pastures, whatever, and they opt to take their contributions, right? Because our contribution is a defined plan. It's a contributory plan, right? Where you contribute to your pension. When you're an appointed officer, the government will also make contributions for you, but you contribute to your pension. So when these persons are leaving, they opt to take their money. And what we have been seeing, and we have been seeing it more and more, after they take it, they regret it. because what they get when they opt to take that money is just the contributions that they have made and whatever interest would have been added to their pension, right? So the amounts that the government would have contributed on their behalf, they don't get an opportunity to take that. So afterwards, they look back and they say, hold on, the man, is a bad move me make. And we've had persons writing to the board requesting to pay back their money and to re-enter the plan. And you know, when you reach there, so things get ticklish, right? So I'm just probably kind of saying to you right now, colleagues, you need to consider, if you're leaving this pension plan, you need to consider what you do if you're leaving your job with the government, you need to consider what you're doing in terms of retrieving those funds, right? Because there are other options apart from you taking that money. And I'm sure Candice is gonna talk about that, right? So I am going to, at this time, introduce to you the person who is going to do the majority of the presentation. And I'm turning over at this time because I am going to be allowing you to ask her whatever questions you may have. And we're going to be noting. Remember, we have a couple of phone cards to give away. So we're going to have a few questions from the presentation. And you know, you'll be able to show up yourself, right, in terms of phone cards. So at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Miss Candice Nelson. She is a corporate officer with the NCB. The name has just changed. Pardon me, Miss Candice, if I get it wrong. The NCB Insurance Agency and Fund Managers. And they are actually the fund managers, the persons that we send our pension money to on a monthly basis, and they're the ones who manage it for us. Let me just make a plug for NCBIC. They are the best in the industry. They are the best pension managers, fund managers that we could ever ask for. They are doing so much better than some others who are out there. So sometimes we rocks them up as trustees when we have our meetings, things not going the way we want to. Sometimes we rocks them up, but we love them still because over the years, they have really worked to ensure that we get the most on our pensions that we possibly can. So at this time, without further ado, I turn over to Candice Nelson. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And good afternoon, everyone. Is everyone hearing me?
Yes, we are, Candice. Go ahead.
Sorry, the camera is a little dark, so you might not be able to see me. However, I just want to thank you all for having me this evening, for inviting me. And I hope I can help with everyone to build a better plan for retirement. So before I begin though, I want it to be interactive, you know, the cameras are off. So I just want to be sure that there's someone there that I'm talking to. And so I just wanted to know, for the persons on the call, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about retirement?
Getting some well-needed rest. That's the first thing.
I hear you. Anybody else?
More money.
I hear that. I hear more money as well. Can I ask you as well, Ms. Gordon, when is the first time that you really thought about retirement?
Well, from I started working, you know, is something that, you know, I had in mind because you have to start planning for your retirement from now. So, yeah.
That's excellent. I don't think I've ever heard that one before. starting as you start working. So that's excellent. Kudos to you. Kudos to you for that. So I just wanted to go through a little bit about my presentation today. You know, the pension plan is a lot. It's a lot of information. And so I prefer to break it up into pieces. So Ms. James mentioned the termination benefit. You might not hear too much about that today, but if you do have a question about that, you can ask any questions you have, please feel free to stop me in the presentation and ask. If it is something that I know is coming later down in the presentation, and I will say that, and we will wait until we get there. Otherwise, I will just provide the response immediately. So let's jump right in. And this is what we're going to be talking about this evening. Ms. James really covered a lot, and so I'll try not to repeat what she said. But today we will be speaking specifically about the Regional Health Authorities Superannuation Fund. And that is what we call a defined contribution plan. What that really means is that the amount that you contribute to the plan is defined. So we have to contribute, the members have to contribute 5% of your pensionable salary. What that really means is it's your basic salary. No overtime is included. If you get traveling, none of that is included. It's just your basic salary, 5% of that. And then your employer, the government, will contribute a particular percentage, which we'll get into more details on that. But just to say, that is how the term defined contribution comes about, because you know exactly how much it is that you're putting in, because it's a percentage of your salary. And the main purpose of the fund is to provide pension and other benefits to the members and their beneficiaries, on whether it be retirement for the members or beneficiaries on the death of the members. That's the main purpose of the plan. And of course, this kind of plan, the Regional Health Authorities Plan, is approved by the FSC and the TAJ, and they monitor the plan. So we have to provide reports to them every year and ad hoc if they request it. Also, it's important to know that the members have recourse to the FSC. So if you think that things are happening that should not be, you can write to the FSC for their intervention. As it relates to the governance of the plan, so how it works is the pension plan. And when we say pension plan, I'm speaking about the Regional Health Authority Superannuation Plan. So this pension plan is governed by what we call a board of trustees. So these trustees have ultimate responsibility for the plan, and they ensure that it works as it's supposed to. Here you see we have representatives from each region. And as Ms. James mentioned, Rosemary James, she is the member appointed trustee. So the members would have voted in Ms. James at some point in time, and the members are the only ones who can also remove her. You also have retirement committee members. These are persons on the ground who kind of help to get the information out there. They help with the contributions, things like that. And again, we have representatives from both regions. The trustees, though, have appointed us at NCB Insurance Agency as the fund managers because of our experience and our expertise, right? So we handle a lot of pension funds, and because of that, we have a lot of expertise in managing the funds, ensuring that it's managed as it's supposed to, and of course, getting the best returns possible. So now we talk about retirement planning. And retirement planning is what we call, it's multifaceted. It has a lot of different pieces to it. You have to ensure that you have your insurance. You have to ensure that you have your long-term care in terms of health, you know, for especially persons who may not have children. What is going to happen when you get to a stage where you can't take care of yourself? Income planning, though, that's the biggie. And that's what I am going to be focusing on today. The income that we want to get in our retirement. So how do we successfully plan for retirement? We plan early. The earlier we start, the better. We have to plan continuously. Of course, you make the plan, you have to look at it every now and again. You can't just make the plan, put it down and okay, this is the plan. We have to, as things change, we have to make adjustments. You might get a salary increase and you can do more, because sometimes persons start at the 5% and they can't really do the 10% or 6%, whatever your increase is supposed to be. Persons can't move on because it's really tight. But then you get an increase, you get a promotion. You look back at the plan and okay, now I can contribute more. Plan for contingencies. Things don't always go according to plan, right? And exercise discipline. And one of the things that we see is people tend to put off retirement, and it's far away. So we can imagine that sometimes we can't think that long, but we tend to put everything before it. What I always say, my mantra is, when you're thinking about your retirement, when you get to 65, if you cannot, say for instance, you are making the 5% contribution. If you cannot look back and say, I didn't make 10%, I didn't make the full 10% contribution because if you cannot quantify why you weren't doing it, if you cannot look back and see exactly where that additional 5% was going, you have to think, is it really worth it? If you cannot look back and say, I didn't do the full 10 because I wanted to buy a house, and so I had to put a lot into my mortgage payment, or I didn't do the full 10 because I wanted to invest in a farm, and so I used the additional for that. If you can't see where that money went, does it really work towards your retirement planning? Something to think about. So things to note, the experts say that we should aim for 75% of our final salary when we retire, to retire comfortably. So if today is your retirement date, your salary today, your annual salary today is $1 million. Experts say that you should try and amass at least $750,000 a year to live comfortably. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know if you're able to live on less than what you're earning now after you retire. Yes, some expenses might go down. Maybe transportation expenses may go down, but then other expenses increase. You may be home more, so electricity will increase. You're older, maybe medical expenses increase. So I would want to aim for the highest, which is 75. But the point here is we also have to think about other streams of income, right? We want to have 100% minimum. We probably now have to be thinking about other ways in which we can get that 25. In Jamaica, approximately 300,000 persons, inclusive of government workers, are a part of a formal pension plan. Out of a labor force of 1.2 million. That's about 25%. That's 25% of working persons. Only 25% of working persons are a part of a formal pension plan. And those 25%, the majority of them are only contributing the 5% that is required. When you do the 5%, ladies and gentlemen, in a defined contribution fund, you will not receive that 75% that we spoke about in point 1. You will not receive that maximum if you're only doing 5%. The majority of members as well, when they leave the companies, they take back their refunds. And something to note about the regional plan, when you take back your money, you're no longer entitled to the contributions that were made on your behalf by the government. So when you take back your money, you have no pension to get at retirement. The average working life is 40 years. So you work for 40 years, you get your monthly salary, and you do your best with it. In retirement though, with the increase in life expectancy, and medical technology and everything just becoming easier and at your fingertips in terms of information, people are living up to 25 years in retirement. So you have 25 years in which you will need some amount of steady income. Where are you going to get this from? What does your plan look like? We move into estate planning, which is a part of retirement planning. And I bring this one up because it's near and dear to me. Based on my experience, I have had family members pass on, and let's not even go to the deadlift that we have here, the culture in Jamaica. Not even going into that particular conversation, but just the point that the family left behind, they have no idea what kind of assets the person that died left behind, because that conversation was never had. They probably leave land, assets for persons, but that takes money to transfer. And because those who are left behind, they don't have that money, that gets stuck in court with probate and all of that. That's where insurance comes in. You don't want, unfortunately, on someone's death, you don't want the family to be put in more debt, trying to find all the resources to bury. It's morbid and it's sad, but it's real. And I hope we're here to have a real conversation. So I'm just briefly saying here, have this conversation with your family. Look about your insurance, look about your will, and let them know what to expect. And now we get into income planning, right? And this is what we're saying. Remember, the goal is 75%, right? Minimum 75% of the salary that we have before we retire. For the million, we want to be earning 75%, 750,000 in retirement. These are the various forms. You can get it from the pension, you can get it from your savings. For us, Social Security, the NIS. I won't speak a lot about the NIS. I think we all know. I mean, if the NIS could even pay the light bill, I won't go much into NIS. And then we have for us, the IRA would be that private pension plan. Unfortunately, in Jamaica, you're not able to do both at the same time. You're not able to be in a company-sponsored pension plan and a retirement scheme. At this time, there have been talks about changing that. So for now, one pension plan. But also we want to know that pension, what we're saying is that this retirement scheme, this retirement plan, is not the only avenue to income in retirement, right? It's, to me, one of the safest because the returns are great. The returns are great because as a pension plan, contributions are taxes exempt. So when you put contributions in the fund, there's no tax paid on that. When us here at NCB Insurance invest the money, there's no tax on that. That's an instant 25% there. So I like to say, put as much as you can in the pension plan so that you can be guaranteed when you get to retirement, you have money for your light, you have money for your water, you have money for your internet, you have money can buy your groceries, right? That's what we're trying to do here. We're not saying that the pension plan is going to send you on that cruise that you want. Who was it? Miss Mackenzie, I think, said she wants to relax. The pension plan might not be the thing that can give you all of that, but it can give you peace of mind because you know that every month you're getting this income that can cover your expenses. When you talk about the cruise and sailing the world and traveling, that's where your savings come in. That's where real estate come in. If you have the opportunity to buy something, to buy an apartment or something that you can rent out, that's where those other avenues come in. But when we talk about the pension, we're talking about that security that you get every month. So spoke a little bit about the benefits already of being in a pension plan. Interest earned, tax-free. Interest also paid in, tax-free. Financial security, as long as you are alive, your pension is paid to you. As long as you are alive, your pension is paid to you. Taking care of those who you leave behind. So in the event, God forbid, your death before you get to retirement, your beneficiaries have something to get, which is also very important. When you get your statements, ladies and gentlemen, check your statements and ensure that the persons on there listed as your beneficiaries, those are the persons you want to benefit in the event of your death. And again, pension is paid for life. As long as you are alive, you get your pension every month. Okay, so we spoke a little bit about the contributions and how that works. So for us, for you as employees, you have to contribute 5% of your salary. By virtue of being in a plan, you have to contribute 5%. You have the option to contribute up to an additional 5%, and we call these voluntary contributions. So the total employee contributions must not exceed 10%. On the employer side now, the employer contributes on your behalf. However, those contributions are tiered and they're linked to your pension of service. So if you have less than 5 years of service, the employer will contribute 5%. This is the government we're talking about when we say employer. If you have more than 5, but less than 10, the government will contribute 7.5% of your salary. And if you have at least 10 and over, the government will contribute 10%. So can you imagine you having 10 years, the government makes 10 on your behalf, and you are doing 10, the maximum 20% of your contributions. You know, that's an excellent start right there. But you can still do the 10 until, you know, you get up to the 10-year threshold. Is everybody good? Everybody with me?
Yes, I am. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. So this now, here we have a little chart showing the benefits of starting early. So I mentioned at the beginning that if you're doing the minimum 5%, it's not likely that you will be getting the maximum pension. And we mentioned the maximum pension is 75%. The maximum pension is 75% of your salary. If you're doing the minimum 5, it's not likely you're going to be getting the maximum at retirement. However, this is where the benefit of youth comes in, right? You see here where the member who is starting at age 30, same $10,000 a month, accumulates a greater value, significantly greater value than a member who is starting what we'll consider just 15 years older, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 15 years is not a long time, but the value of compound interest, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be overstated. And what compound interest means is money on top of money. So in the words of Rosemary, this 45-year-old is going to have more money at retirement, but the 30-year-old is going to have enough money. Just by virtue of the fact that they would have started 15 years earlier, and it's just continuously. So each month they add on top of it and you get interest on top of the interest that you had, and it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. It's very important to start early, ladies and gentlemen. Starting at 30 or 20 with 5%, you may be able to get away if you're consistent with it. Starting at 45, you have to put in everything that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to put everything that you have the later you start. So I want to encourage you. I don't know the ages of the persons on this call, but I want to encourage you. If you're over 45, you must be doing the maximum, which is 10%. If you know persons who are under 45, just starting, please encourage them. Do the maximum, start now. If they're not a part of the regional health pension plan, we have at NCB what we call the smart retirement plan, where they can start their contributions. And if it changes, if their work contract changes and they are now able to contribute to the regional health authorities fund, they can actually transfer that money from the retirement scheme at NCB Insurance into the regional health authority plan and continue to earn that interest, compound interest on top of compound interest. So I want us all here to be ambassadors and encourage each other to contribute consistently and to contribute as much as we can. And now we're going to show the comparison between contributor A and contributor B. Who contributor A is doing basic only, contributor B is doing basic and voluntary. And it's really simple, ladies and gentlemen. If both started at the same time, contributor B makes 100% more because they're doing twice as much. So whereas the pension for A is 173,000, the pension for B is almost $347,000 per month, just by virtue of a $5,000 more each month. And again, we have to say to ourselves when we're planning our retirement, when we're writing it down, I'm sure most persons would have watched the Olympics that just ended. And we heard where, I'm not sure if you heard, where Elaine said she wrote down her goals. She wrote down what she wanted to have happen and it manifested. Of course, she had to put in the work, but ladies and gentlemen, have a budget. Write down what your plan is for retirement. What would you like to achieve? How much money do you want in retirement? Write it down and then put the money towards it. It is all within your reach. So looking at a live example here, Mr. Brown, he's going to be 65 on April 27th, and he has accumulated 3.5 million. We have the breakdown here. So I know when you get your statements, you'll see your basic contributions, you see your voluntary, you see employer, and the total is 3.5, right? But how do we convert this into a monthly pension? So the actuaries, they do their fancy calculation. And that 3.5 million turns out to be approximately $23,000 per month. And again, that is paid for the rest of your life. We have various forms of pension though. You have the single life, guaranteed, and all this means, and I want us to just keep this in mind, bear this in mind. Pensions are paid for life, right? If you're a member and you have retired, your pension is paid for your life, as long as you're alive. When we speak though about guaranteed periods, and we say 5 years and 10 years, what we're saying is the period of time between your retirement dates plus 5 years, that is guaranteed. So if God forbid you die within that period, it will continue for the remaining 5 years or 10 years if that's what you have chosen, that pension will continue to your beneficiary. But if you chose single life guarantee 10 years and you do not pass within that 10 years, your pension continues until you die. Joint life and survival, what that means, and that option is only available with your spouse. What that means is you guys, you and your spouse are purchasing the pension together. And so you, the member, should you die before your spouse, then the pension will continue to your spouse. Right? If your spouse dies, then the pension will just continue to you until you die. If your spouse dies before you. And again, you can choose a lump sum option. What that means is you would get a reduced monthly payment, but you would have an upfront lump sum amount paid to you. So you might have, you know, some expenses you want to settle, might want to finish paying off a car loan, or you might want to invest in, you know, adding on a back room or something. You have the option to get a portion of your pension as a lump sum payment. And now we get into some rules. Just gonna go through this quickly. Get into some rules about the pension plan. You can, a member may retire within 10 years of his normal retirement age. So if your normal retirement age is 65, you may retire up to from age 55 with the consent of the trustees. So you'd write to the trustees, say you want to retire early, and they would consider that. Late retirement, you have the option to continue up to 5 years after your normal retirement age. So you might look at it and boy, the money you're going to get, it's not ready yet. You're not comfortable. As long as your employer consents, you can continue working up to 5 years after your normal retirement age. And now we have ill health retirement, and this just means if you are diagnosed by a medical advisor to be unable to continue working, whether it's be physical or mental, whether it be a physical issue or a mental issue, you will retire as at that date, no matter how old you are. So even if you're 40, if you have been diagnosed unable to continue performing your duties, you would retire as at that date and begin receiving a monthly pension. There are also death benefits. If you die while in active employment, then you will get a lump sum paid to your beneficiaries. If you die as a deferred pensioner, the same will apply. Just 1 second, sorry. Sorry about that, yes. So if you should pass while you're actively employed, all of your accumulated amount, the employer's contribution on your behalf, your contributions, that will be paid to your beneficiaries, which again is important. Please ensure when you get your statements, you check to ensure that the beneficiaries named are the persons who want to benefit in your death. And as a deferred pensioner is a person who no longer works at, who no longer works at Western Regional or any of the regions, but they have opted to leave their contributions in the fund so that when they get to retirement, they have a benefit to get. If someone dies while waiting, their benefit will be paid to their beneficiaries. For a retired member, we spoke about that. It would just be the guaranteed period. So if you had chosen 10 years, whatever period is left out of that guaranteed period, that will continue to your beneficiary. Just some tips. Again, can't stress it enough. Your pension is paid for life. As long as you're in the fund, your contributions cannot be refunded. right? So if you get to retirement, at that stage, your contributions will not be refunded. You will get a pension. You have the option, spoke about that, tax-free lump sum, choosing your guarantee period. Pension payments are due on the first day of each month. And while your pension is paid for life, we do ask you to return to us a certificate of existence. Currently, we do once a year. We ask you to return that to us within 2 months of receiving it, so we know that you are still with us. And we go into the threshold, won't really delve into that. And I'll just quickly speak about the termination option. So at the beginning, remember we said the purpose of the pension plan, right? To provide a pension on retirement or in the event of death, a payment to the beneficiaries. However, there are termination options. And so if you leave the region before attaining retirement age, you have the option to receive a refund of your basic and your voluntary contributions, of course, with whatever interest would have been credited. Or you can choose the deferred retirement pension. And what that means again is you're leaving this money in this pension fund and it will continue to accumulate interest so that when you get to age 65, you can get a retirement benefit from it. Or you can transfer it to an approved superannuation fund or approved retirement scheme. If you're going to another company and they have a pension plan, you can transfer your benefit from this pension plan to that pension plan and continue to earn the interest, right? Those are persons who have less than 5 years service. For persons who have at least 5 years of service now, they can leave everything in the fund so that they can get a benefit at retirement. This benefit will include the employer's contribution. For the persons who had less than 5 years, they would have only gotten a pension from their contributions, basic, and if they had any voluntary, they would have gotten the pension from those two. They would not get the pension from the employer contribution. But for the persons who have at least 5 years, they will get a benefit from everything in the fund on their behalf. So their basic, their voluntary contributions, if they have it, and the employer contributions that were made on their behalf. You have the option to take back your basic and voluntary contributions. But as we mentioned before, if you do this, if you take a refund of your basic and your voluntary, you will not be entitled to a deferred pension. You will not be entitled to a pension at retirement. You can also opt to transfer the balance to, again, another retirement account if you're going to another company that has one. So for retirement planning, we just want to encourage plan, right? Make a plan. What do you want to do when you get there? You want to step out of your comfort zone. It's the perfect time to do it. You want to learn something new, take a different approach to life. Are there persons you met at work who you really don't want to lose? So you meet up with them, lunch, dinner. What is it that you want to do in your retirement? Now is the time to plan so that when you get there, you're able to do that. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Now is the time. Questions and answer. Ms. James, you ready?
I am ready and raring to go. But before I make some statements, you see, let me just welcome those who would have joined after we began the session. Welcome to the Monday meditation. Today we're meditating on money. And it's always a good thing when you put money in the equation, right? It's enough money for you and your honey, but later on, we're talking about pensions. So I have some questions because as we told you before, we have some phone cards for those who are good students and who are listening. But before I go into that, are there questions that you have that you would want clarified, or probably there's something that you had wanted to hear but you did not hear? Now is your time.
There's a question in the chat from Kay. Kay says that if the employee leaves the service before 5 years of appointment, will they still be entitled to pension when they reach retirement age?
Okay, Candice?
Yes, I'm sorry, it cut out a little bit, but I'm seeing the question. If the employee leaves the service before 5 years, no, they will not. Well, yes, they are able to get a pension from their contributions. So if they leave before 5 years of service and they have made basic and voluntary contributions, they have the option to leave that basic and voluntary contribution in the fund and get a pension from that when they get to retirement. They will not get a pension from the employer's contributions. Oh, she said she got the answer already. How does a self-employed person go about getting pension? So at NCB, we have what is called the Smart Retirement Plan, and it is an approved retirement scheme, also regulated by the FSC and TAJ, and you're able to sign up for that plan. Similar benefits as any pension plan, tax-free investments, monthly annual statements. All you need to do is let me know. You can just let me know and I can have somebody reach out to you.
All right, great questions. Is there any other?
There's another question in the chat from
raise the hands. Not sure who we want to take first.
Oh, yes, yes.
Miss Pierce's hand has been raised for a while.
All right, so guess what? Let us go with Cheryl Belchup here, and then we'll take the other question in the chat, and then we'll go to Alma Mackenzie Palmer, okay? In that order. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Right, thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. I noticed you had projected some figures, and I joined late, sorry. So you may have said it before, but the figures you were presenting represents what time frame is the person on a pension? Is this from, say, 25 when they started working, or is it a 10 years? I wasn't clear as to what period. You said someone, when I joined, your screen was saying someone with 5,000 and someone with 10,000, but I'm sorry if I missed that.
Yes, I don't think I mentioned it actually, so that's a great question. It would be a 30-year savings plan. So somebody would have started when they're 30.
Okay, thanks so much for that. All right, great.
You're welcome. Okay, Miss, you said to go back to the chat. Why does it take so long for MOH retired persons to start receiving pension? I am not sure I can answer this question.
I don't think that question is for us, Candice. But what I have heard is that it is horrible. But I can tell you though, from the Regional Health Authority pension plan, that we do not take a long time to begin pension payments. And if you have a challenge, the trustees are here. I am here, and Mrs. Patricia Pennicott is the employer trustee as well. And we also have Sharon Faulkner, who is personnel officer at Hanover Health Services. So either of us you can reach out to, and we will touch base with NCBIA, and that is usually rectified in very short order. I can tell you that we're quite efficient. All right, so I see Mrs. Mackenzie Palmer. Go ahead, please, with your question.
Okay, my question is, suppose you die and your beneficiary is a minor. How would that the money be dispensed to that person?
Okay, so when you nominate your beneficiary, if your beneficiary is a minor, you have to appoint a trustee. And so that payment will go to the trustee that you have nominated on their behalf.
I have an example of a case that they only appointed the beneficiary, but there was no trustee. And it was difficult for the person to get the money to the minor because for some reason the trustee was overlooked.
So that would go to the AGD.
Candice, could you explain what the AG whatever is?
So the Administrator General Department is an executive agency that administers, they act as a trustee, quote unquote trustee, on behalf of minors in this situation. And so we try to explore, as the administrators, we try to explore other options before going to the AGD. Should a member die, even a minor, who they have not named a trustee for, or who we're unable to locate a trustee, we do try various options through legal avenues. But if none of those work, you have to pay over the funds to the Administrator General's Department, and they will then allocate the funds to the minor based on their plans.
Okay, so this is a part of the reason why we are meditating on money this evening, because we all need to know what needs to be done in order for things to flow smoothly. God forbid, should we pass. But in addition to that, the persons at personnel departments, human resource, need to ensure that when persons submit the forms, they are correctly filled out, and so prevent these kinds of situations from occurring. All right, is there any other question? Because I want to give away some phone cards, you know. I want to give away some phone cards. So hear me now. Sheena Gordon, I'm gonna ask you to be my judge, right? You're gonna be listening out for persons who are responding to the questions that we have. I'm going to ask the questions for the phone cards, but I am going to intersperse those with PowerPoints, takeaway points for you. You know, I'm going to start with a PowerPoint, and I'm going to say, if you can't manage now on the salary that you get, how will you manage later at retirement? Is a serious question. The question is so serious that I'm getting biblical now. Jeremiah 12 and verse 5 says, if you have run with the footmen and they have wearied you, how will you contend with horses? In other words, if things bad now and you can hardly manage, what will happen when things get rougher later? So here is my solution to that. A little more now for a lot more later. You need to give a little more now for a lot more later. What am I speaking about? I'm speaking about voluntary pension contributions. I am saying to you, as was pointed out by Candice, the more you add up to the maximum amount voluntary contributions, it is the better things will be for you later. So here is my question, and Sheena, you're gonna be looking out for me, whether in the chat or if persons choose to raise their hand to answer this one.
Okay.
Listen up now. Who plans to begin to make voluntary contributions or increase their voluntary contributions tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning?
You can repeat your question, please.
My question is, who on this call plans to increase their pension contribution or to begin to make voluntary pension contributions beginning Wednesday when normal operations resume? Look like me have to go keep that phone card for myself.
What if you currently
It
have
looks a bit
one?
true.
What if you currently have one already? It's not a play?
Okay, so if you currently have to the maximum amount,
Yes, I do.
all right, good girl, I'm patting you on the shoulder. But this question not for you. Everybody is contributing voluntarily to the pension plan? Well, Candice, we have persons who are already converted. We have the converted here, so that is so wonderful. All right, here's another PowerPoint. It is a good idea to leave your pension contributions in this fund if you plan to migrate or resign. It's a good idea to leave it there, and the reasons were already given, right? The other option you have is to transfer your contributions to another registered pension plan or retirement scheme. Here is my question now, my phone card question. Approximately how many working persons are a part of a formal pension plan in Jamaica at this time? Approximately how many working persons are a part of a formal pension plan in Jamaica now? I see 2.5%. I don't think so.
Any other answer?
10%.
Oh my, Caleb Watson. She has 300,000 or 25% of the working population. And I believe somebody's gonna make some calls this evening.
Woo!
Yes, Miss Caleb. Wow, congrats to you.
Congrats!
All right, I'm going to put Candice on the spot. Candice, from your presentation, is there any particular question that you'd like to ask the members who are on this call?
I really like your first question, by the way.
Okay.
I really like your first question. Yes, I would like to ask the members, what type of plan is the Regional Health Authority's superannuation plan?
Candice, who was that? That sounds like Jackie.
Yes, it was me.
Oh my, I was going to say that sounds like a $500 phone card question, and that's a big one.
And no, I was thinking the same thing as I asked it. No, but can't guess. That is correct. That is correct.
I didn't hear the answer though.
Ash,
The answer is a defined contribution plan.
I see somebody protesting in the chat saying, no, she can't answer. But of course, that's a joke. Why Miss Jackie can't make phone calls?
I'm a part of the pension plan.
Of course you are.
Congrats, Mrs.
Right.
Carr.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. It was a pleasure for us to be on this call. I believe I'm speaking on behalf of Candice as well. And just remember that whatever questions or concerns you may have regarding pensions, that we are here. We do try our best. Our fund is performing super well. It has held up despite the many, many challenges that we've had. We have a great team working with at NCBIA. And, you know, I just want to, for those who came on a little later, just to remind us that Mrs. Patricia Pennicott is the employer trustees for pension for Western Region. And we have Sharon Faulkner, the personnel officer in Hanover, who is the retirement committee member. And then there is myself, Rosemary James, who is the employee trustee for pensions. It has been our pleasure being on this call, and we wish you all the best. Please stay very safe in this extremely crazy time of COVID. Thank you so much. I turn over to Miss Sheena Gordon.
Right. Miss Gordon, Mrs. Carr here. Can I have a bit of just a little advert?
Okay.
All right, just to say it was a wonderful presentation and just inviting persons to join us on Wednesday the 1st. The region again, myself and Mrs. Pennicott will be putting on another seminar. This one is entitled Planning for Retirement, and I know that Ms. Nelson would have touched on some of those areas, but we will be having some other persons to speak with us. So we'll be having the NIS, talking about insurance. We're going to be having NHT, and then we are going to be having a lawyer speaking about estate planning. So we're just inviting persons to join us on the 1st, which is September 1st at 1. We would have already sent the link. So we're continuing, in this venture because we want, as Ms. James would have said, we want enough money for we and we honey in a retirement.
Okay, I want to thank you for that informative message, Mrs. Carr. And also the winners, I want you to send me your phone number and the type of network that you're on. Once more, I want to say thank you, Miss James and Miss Nelson. It was a very informative session, and I trust that it was well received and everyone is now in the know. And I do want to apologize for earlier. I had some internet difficulties when I was doing the introduction, and I want to say I'm sorry about that. And once more, everyone, I want to thank you all for tuning in. And it was a very informative session, and do have a good evening and keep safe. All right.
Thank you to Miss Gordon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, same for you.
Bye. Stay safe, guys.
Invite back Miss Nelson for another one with more persons in the day.
Alrighty, good night.
Bye.
Good night.